From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE as the heat is on for forced stimulus. And in this recording, you're going to see new detail as the White House meets with the GOP to discuss forced stimulus in a new video released minutes ago. But is there a lot of people in the room? Is it less than a half-court basketball team? You'll see how many people actually had a bipartisan meeting today. Meantime, you'll see a new exchange of questions from the press secretary detailing what is likely happening for negotiations. And I'll show you how you need to push faster and stronger than ever before. This is the latest update, and this is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Afternoons LALATE. And minutes ago, the President of the United States met in the Oval Office with these people. There's a lot of people in the room, aren't there? There's just a lot of people negotiating your forced stimulus. Let's see who is from the GOP negotiating the forced stimulus. Well, underneath the LALATE logo, a graphic is Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary. She's from the White House. There's Mayor Pete on the right of the president. He's from the White House. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4 other people. So he met with 4 people today to discuss your forced stimulus. A little ironic. In this video, I'm going to go over really what's going on with this bipartisan negotiations and why is it's not time to start reconciliation. I'll go over that and a new video from the White House in which the White House is asked, what's really going on here? If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. This is my last live broadcast, of course, every day on LALATE. The next shows will be taped. So I'll be interacting more with you in the live chat and answering some of your questions. But let me get right to the details. The President of the United States just released this video showing you that he's working for bipartisan support for forced stimulus. The only problem is that there's no one in the room. There's Mayor Pete, that's from his team. There's Janet Yellen, that's from his team. And then I see one guy on his left and another guy at the end of the sofa, and then 2 people on the other sofa. So maybe he met with 4 Republicans. Let's listen in to see what really is being done with 4 people in a room.
They're still my colleagues. I'm more of a member of Congress than I've been here, but I'm glad you all came down. We're going to talk about our infrastructure package, and as I indicated earlier, I am prepared to compromise, prepared to see what we can do and what we can get together on. It's a big package, but there's a lot of needs, and so we're going to be talking about number 1, what should be included in the package. Obviously, I put a lot in the package. I think it all should be included. And how to pay for it. And there are 2 issues. I've noticed everybody's for infrastructure. The question is who's going to pay for it. And that's what we're going to try to work out today, at least in this bipartisan group of members of the House and Senate. And a little secret here, full disclosure. I asked senators and congressmen who had either been governors or mayors, because they know what it's like to make things work, to make sure that you get things done and deal with infrastructure and the needs of your community. So that's why we're here. Hopefully we'll be able to reach some kind of consensus, at least in broad terms. So thank you all for coming in, and we'll be talking to you later.
Mr. President, what do you think about the idea of paying for it with user fees?
That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all that right now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The question the poll reporter asked is, Mr. President, what do you think about splitting the bill into pieces? And needless to say, if you notice one ironic bit, was the poll cameraman pulled in tighter to the president, so you saw less clarity of who's actually in the room. By all accounts, it looked like there was only 4 other people, not in the room, that are not part of his cabinet or himself. So bipartisan meeting with 4 people. Here's what the press secretary said just earlier today. She was asked whether the president would consider splitting the bill into more parts. Last Friday, she was asked the same question as Chris Coons, the president's old ally, said that maybe we should take the 4th stimulus package, which is half of the 5th stimulus package, and make it now 4.4A and 4B, like keep on splitting it because we just do so little work at a time. And she said no. But today she said, well, we're addressing a range of issues, and we're open to hear a range of issues. Then she was asked, what about the modification of taxes around the issue? She said, we're willing to address a range of issues. Here's what you need to know, which is breaking at just afternoons right now on this channel. A new report suggests that the president has still not figured out how to actually pay for $2 trillion. Just seems sort of like a problem, doesn't it? The new report out of Politico says the president has still not made a determination about which taxes and what amount. You've heard about corporate taxes, but that is not the only tax item that the president wants to modify to pay for 4th stimulus. And when we talk about paying for 4th stimulus, I'm not talking about stimulus checks. I'm talking about the infrastructure and the climate. The report says the president has still not figured out what he wants to use to pay for it. Do you think it's sort of time to figure this out? If you've not been with me over the last few days, you have understood the issue of timing. Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer say that the vote on this bill will happen by July 4th. You need to have it happen by July 4th because guess what happens in July? They go bye-bye. They go on vacation. Senators and House members go on vacation to September. There is no time to dawdle because those monthly stimulus checks that need to land in your bank account and the deal of fomenting it to law needs to be done by July. Here's what you need to know. It's 2 months to do a reconciliation. July 4th, calling for vote. That's May 4th. May 4th is just around the corner. So is this the final push for the president to do bipartisan meetings, to circle back, to listen more? Reporters on Friday and Thursday last week repeatedly asked the press secretary if these are faux meetings, that these ultimately are not going anywhere. What's important to understand is that the president and the press secretary have repeatedly been asked, what about this? And the president has said, number one, he requires money for all his items. His items are climate and infrastructure. And that if he doesn't get climate, he's not doing the bill. Well, the Republicans over the weekend, today again, said we're not doing climate. And yet the president in that press briefing said, I'd like to hear your input on infrastructure. Yeah, they don't have a problem with infrastructure. The GOP said in no less than 4 different speeches today and Sunday that they need to have climate removed for the bill. Otherwise, it's a deal breaker. That's the same thing they said 4 weeks ago. And that they don't even want to do the amount of infrastructure the president wants to do, 600, 800 billion. So what you need to know to start the afternoon is that the president's narrative, sitting at the end of that table, at that sofa, or at the end of that room, that there's agreement upon infrastructure. There's not. They can't even agree upon how much infrastructure, and they absolutely don't agree upon climate. They have literally drawn a line in the sand, and in 4 weeks they've not changed that line in the sand. And negotiations for him say he has to get money for climate. They're not giving money for climate. But let's listen into what the press secretary said this morning about the situation during one exchange. She was asked, what about all these proposals? Would you consider these other proposals? She said, we're considering a range of issues. Sir Lauren would love this repeating of the expression, range of issues, but she says it again. Let's listen to hear what she says during this new exchange.
Our objective at this point in time is to hear and listen to all of those and to determine what the path forward may look like in coordination and cooperation. We have the president's bottom line here is that the only thing we cannot do is fail to invest in our nation's infrastructure, rebuild our economy, and create millions of jobs. That's the only piece he does not want to see us fail to do as a country and fail to do as hopefully in a bipartisan manner, ideally. But in terms of the ideas being put forward, we're quite open to a range of mechanisms for agreed upon legislation moving forward. Smaller package.
Now, the next part coming up in this exchange, you want to listen in carefully, in which she says that House members and Senate members have been working on on the provisions that they would ultimately reduce to a bill. What? Let's listen in carefully to hear what she says in this new video.
Packages, pieces being peeled off. Right now, there's the nitty-gritty work going on in Congress where members are meeting, staffs are meeting, committee staff are meeting to discuss what's possible, where there's a...
What? This is the first time we have heard in a press briefing from the press secretary that the negotiations have involved anyone else but the White House and the White House's other people on the other side of the aisle. Now she's saying that staffers of committee members in Congress are chatting. What is this about? Needless to say, the press reporter who clearly asked this question did not follow up with a can you explain a little bit more what you're talking about? But it really was a big surprise to hear that she says that staffers somewhere in Congress are talking about the nitty-gritty of the bill. I don't know what she's referring to, and I don't know where they're talking about it. Let's listen in more.
Agreement. We welcome that. But, in terms of what the package or size looks like, we're just not quite there yet.
And there comes the most troubling concern. How large the package is and where it is, we're just not there yet. We're not just not there yet. Let me jump into the comments right now. When you heard her say, when determining how big the $2 trillion package is, we're just not there yet. When do you think she needs to be there? When do you think the president needs to be there? I want to see your comments because I certainly have a comment about when he needs to be there. Let me put up the graphic again about when he needs this bill to a vote. When do you think he needs to be there? Drop in the comments. I see Lisa and I see John and I see Gunnar. When do you think the president needs to be there and needs to know where he's going to be for the stimulus package? Mike says, if the vote is just July 4th, when would the checks go out? It would, well, the third stimulus, some checks went out literally in the first 7 days. It's always an issue of Treasury with the round of the checks. So Linda says now. Linda and Jason says it needs to be done now. Gunnar says now. Masta says now. Vanessa says now. Donald says says something I can't say on air. Monty says last year. Christine says now. Diane says yesterday. About 2 weeks ago, says Janetta. Shannon says she's not wearing green today. Like yesterday, says Jacqueline. Now, today. Sarah, Charlotte, Janice. Now, says Dean Powell. Janice says a month ago. Well, come on, now, says Jason Miller. And Lisa Strum says now. Last week. I agree. Here is what's new today. What's new today is this political report that I keep on going back to, which is very interesting. You've heard me tell you what's in the fourth stimulus package for the purpose of the president: infrastructure, climate, and taxes. But you never hear me go into detail about what taxes, because I don't know. President hasn't said what type of taxes. Well, the new report says the president has made a determination about what taxes. You think you need to figure this out pretty soon? The president's proposals, he's considering corporate taxes, he's considering capital gains taxes, he's considering the step-up basis of death, he's considering changing the marginal tax bracket, which is at the top edge, and then the wealth tax on assets and another wealth tax. It's a little bit time to make up your mind. It's like, let's make up your mind. And then she says that the subcommittees are talking. Excuse me. I can't even visualize the subcommittees talking about the fourth stimulus. Let me explain how this works. Subcommittees, let's assume the scenario that she described, that subcommittees are talking about the fourth stimulus. What, are they going to get back to the president? Hi, Mr. President, we just met. I met with my friend in the subcommittee. We came up with an idea. No, her whole line of answers today is not particularly unbelievable. It's just not believable. It's especially not believable when we watch a video from the president where he has 4 people in the room and she says the subcommittees are sitting around negotiating. No, this is negotiations currently today. The president released a video. Now, let me ask your opinion. Why do you think the president's releasing videos of him negotiating? Why do you think the president is releasing videos of himself negotiating? What do you think is the reason for us to see this video? And also, why is the video in so tight? Why is the camera in so tight? He's considering time to make up our mind, please, says Charlotte. Not feeling too confident right now, says Michelle. Well, it just sounds like get serious now, says Kamika. Absolutely. Get serious right now. Yesterday, says Trish, I learned how to type in the last half hour, says John. Well, I appreciate it. See, John has learned how to type in the last half hour. What has the negotiations yielded in the last half hour? He's stalling, says Charlotte, because he wants to look like he's trying, says Art. To look busy, says Ann Mudrugger. No real hands in the cookie jar, says Monty. There's a reason to go without bipartisan. He has a reason to go without bipartisan support, says Monica. Smokescreen, says Gunner. Unless the subcontractor is writing the bill, subcommittees are writing the bill, says Brother Joshua. He's trying to look busy, says Diane. Yesterday, amen, says Ann. I agree 100%. It doesn't, it looks like they're trying too hard. It just looks like they're trying too hard. Here is where we are on a Monday afternoon, on the first show of Afternoons LA. The president has been talking about bipartisan support for 4 weeks. The Republicans have said they're not doing climate. The president says, I have to have money for climate. They said they're not giving money for climate. The press secretary last Friday said, we're waiting for counterproposals from the Republicans. And then today she said she has had counterproposals. The Republicans detailed counterproposals of the weekend and detailed counterproposals today. And then she says, well, we're considering a range of issues. So first, there were no range of issues. Now there are a range of issues. The Republicans continue to circle back with the no climate position. And the president says, let's talk about infrastructure. Let's talk about roads and highway. But how about the climate? And guess what's happening on Thursday, Friday? A climate conference. Yes, a climate conference on Thursday, Friday, which says to us, just do it. Just do reconciliation. Let's look at the graphic again. Let's look at the graphic again. Reconciliation is the path to get you stimulus checks out the door. And there's a reason that Chuck Schumer, who knows how to run the Congress, got that recon win 2 weeks ago. He's not playing games. You got to give it to Chuck Schumer. He does not play games. And he is watching with bated breath with Speaker Pelosi about what's going on with all this. And he's telling the president, it's at some time you've got to start this recon, whether it's Vote-A-Rama or whatever. Who gets that stimulus check? If it's you. If you make less than $75,000, it's you. Household for less, it's you. If you're on SSI or SSDI, it's you. Let's go back to that graphic. The Senate members want to give you a stimulus check every month for the entire pandemic plus 1 year. So we got 6 more months left in this pandemic. They want to give you 18 checks. The senators want to give you checks from now to December. The House members are more junior members of Congress. The seniors members are more, wrong graphic, are more senior members of Congress. And then the amounts. The House members want to pay you $1,000 per month after the first month at $2,000, whereas the senators haven't said, but word on the street is the senators want to pay you $2,000 a month, which is $12,000 between now and December, or $1,400 a month, which is $8,400 between now and December. Let me see some of your questions. If you have comments, drop them in the comments. James Smith says, dog and pony show. They need to stop stalling, says Lisa. Faux bipartisan negotiations, says Anne. He's not doing anything, not doing nothing, says Donna. He better go big or forget and go home, says Darlene. 1 year prolongs the pain, says Art. House deal is better, says Iris. The 1 year prolongs the pain, says Art. It looks like the Green Archer. ASAP by late May, says Art as well. What do you think about the payouts? Do you prefer the Senate or the House? The House members would pay you less per month, but with more months. So $1,000 per month. But if we have 6 months left of this pandemic, that would be 18 months of checks or $8,000. The senators would propose to give you more money short term, but less money long term. So you could potentially get $12,000 over 6 months compared to $18,000 over 18 months. What do you think is going on? Trish, what is he going to do for climate? They tried that years ago with the factories. Great question, Trish. He hasn't told us. He hasn't told us. What has he done with the student loans? Hasn't told us that either, Patty. And I cover that tonight on Evenings LA. They need to get things done, says Stacey Heatherton. We can't wait. For stimulus will be multiple stimulus checks. B. Daggle, yes. Longer payments is better. So D. Wade prefers the House plan over the Senate plan. Brother Joshua prefers the Senate. Let's combine them, says Monty. I don't think that's an option. Well, I mean, yeah, anything's an option, but at least for purposes of our chatting. And there is Alicia. Dean Powell likes the Senate plan. Most viewers that I polled over the last few weeks have preferred the Senate plan because it is coming to your pocket faster. He needs to be overthrown. Okay, I'm not going to read that. Here is what you need to know. It's not particularly clear what the president's doing with these bipartisan negotiations, other than to show you he's doing bipartisan negotiations. But if you've been with this channel for a while, you see when things are moving and you see when things are not moving. The president has had, I don't know, a dozen confirmed White House meetings for bipartisan relief. And yet we see no progress. We don't see any change. And what was exemplified by it was obviously the pushback. The pushback came with what you know happens on Sunday morning. Sunday morning talk news. As the Republicans went on talk news, said, we don't have a deal. And we don't see that there's going to be a deal unless you do it this way. To which the president says, I'm willing to negotiate on how big infrastructure is. That's not what they're talking about. Here's where you have apples and oranges. The president says, I'll be happy to negotiate on the size of the infrastructure. The Republicans say, take out the climate. The president says, I can modify some of the bridges. Republicans say, take out climate. Well, how about some roads? Take out climate. Yeah, you see how it's just not hearing each other. What you need to know, this is all good for you. This is all good for you. Bipartisanship is not good for you. Bipartisanship does not get stimulus checks. The president's not going to give you stimulus checks. The Republicans say they won't give you stimulus checks. You get stimulus checks from the House members of the Senate when they do a reconciliation. A reconciliation is what gets you to the finish line. And ultimately, you need to start that finish line right now, folks. As we look at that graphic, July is just around the corner. You need to start this sooner rather than later. And there's a reason why Leader Schumer tried to get all those recon wins from the Senate parliamentarian, because he wants you to get this big money. He wants you to get this big money, and he doesn't want to risk it by sitting around. That path to get these stimulus checks is looming, and it's looming right around the board. Lisa, I would like to know, do the American people in any way have to pay back stimulus? Great question. I've gotten that a few times today. Stimulus checks are not taxable. So if you're on SSI, SSDI, you do not have to pay back stimulus checks. SNAP benefits is not taxable. So the only thing that is stimulus taxable is unemployment over $10,200. So if you're sitting here looking at this graphic and you're saying, oh my God, I'm going to go off of SSI if I get that. No, that's not how it works. Stimulus checks are not taxable events. Great question, Lisa. Chris, I'm a disabled veteran and through help could be better, but I'm blessed what I've gotten. I don't care what side does it. Just do it. Very well said. What should they do, LALATE, says Art? They should start the reconciliation process now. They shouldn't wait. And if he does reach some type of bipartisan relief, which he's not, then so be it. But they should not be waiting. I have big, Evelyn, what are your thoughts, LA? My big concerns are the month of July just makes me, when I hear the word July and Congress, it makes me both nervous and a little bit angry. You saw what happened in July last year. I could cue the videos up left and right. July, they went on vacation. From July to September, congressional leaders go on vacation. You remember that time? Remember when the word Temple of Doom came into formation on this channel? It was because we got so upset about congressional leaders leaving us hanging, not giving us stimulus, and going on vacation from July to September. And remember when Karen Maloney did that standalone bill chasing the postman? That they came back in town from their vacation just to do a postman bill and then left town but didn't give us stimulus. That's that July to September period. It's really a no bueno period for the American people because they don't do any work, congressional leaders, from July to September. I want this voted on far before July 4th. July 4th is the deadline, and then they go on vacation. They go bye-bye. Getting this bill to a vote in September, that is not good. That is not good. I want the vote certainly before July 4th. I would like it in late June, which means 2 months before that, get it starting. My recommendation is get this bill to a recon as soon as possible, get it started, and stop talking about obvious things. Here's the other thing that bothers me greatly. And this is sort of, one of the viewers said, it's like a show. Every day the president releases another video talking about how wonderful fixing our roads are. It's so Captain Obvious. We all know the roads need to be fixed. We all want to fix the roads. That's not the problem. The problem is getting the bill done. Getting the bill done is the problem. Agreeing upon fixing roads, no one's disagreeing about fixing roads. So I never understand why it's not the president, but his press team keeps on releasing videos about an obvious subject matter that we all agree upon. It's the part that we don't agree upon that needs to be addressed. And with that, let me jump back into the live chat and see some more of your questions and comments across the board. Yes, they've been given 2 weeks to come up with a resolution, but do not shut it down like they should have, says Jacqueline. Absolutely. What's a correct perspective of a rebound, says Reginald. Oh, that's a great question, Reginald. So a rebound would mean that the two big, what Reginald is asking is what is fully recovered for purposes of the economy? Two numbers. The jobs are restored and the long-term unemployment is restored. So the jobs restored, there's currently 8 million jobs missing. So if those 8 million jobs drop to 500,000, that would look like restored. The second one is the unemployment numbers. The unemployment numbers currently, I think it's 16 million long-term unemployment claims, people who have been on unemployment for more than 1 week. So there's 16 million, we're dropping about a million a week. So that's the second number. Those are the two numbers that gauge full recovery. On that question, I also had someone ask a really good question yesterday, which I couldn't answer because I wasn't live. Someone said, but we still have bills to pay, LALATE. That's a problem here. Not for me, but for the White House. The White House does not gauge your bills as a signal of whether the economy is fully recovered or not. Fully recovered for purposes of the White House, the Federal Reserve, is that missing jobs, 8 million, are restored, where 8 million jobs still missing, and that long-term unemployment claims have gone back to zero. We're currently at 16 million jobs missing. That's what they see as fully restored. Great question across the board. Let's push and get it done. Someone said, oh, I couldn't see who said that. When is it too late to do recon, says Monty. You know, I always say 2 months. Maybe there's a way Schumer can do it faster than 2 months. I have no idea why third stimulus really took the full 2 months. But what I'm concerned about is fourth stimulus is a little bit more complicated a bill than third stimulus, because third stimulus was a modification of second stimulus. It wasn't as it was only a 300-page bill, for example. If we're talking about infrastructure, it could be a 2,000-page bill. So 2 months, it just at this point makes it sort of the make or break moment that I'm worried about. What are they doing for our roads and bridges? They need to do it now, says Trish. Absolutely. They're given 2 weeks to resolve it. Let's do it, another person says. Why insist on waiting till the last minute every time, says D. Wade. Oh, that's a great comment. You know, I'm really tired of congressional leaders doing that. They did it with the CR for stimulus, remember? They waited to the very last day to agree for the CR stimulus. And then when the prior president didn't sign the bill initially, they flew the bill down to him and he signed it 24 hours before unemployment was about to expire. Why not just fly it down to him like 5 days ahead of time or a week ahead of time? Why fly it down 24 hours before it's supposed to expire? And then this second stimulus, they did it right on a deadline. They need to stop doing things on deadlines. It's just, And with that, thank you for your great questions and comments. I really appreciate you for joining me. I'll be back in 2 hours from now as Afternoons LA goes into a big broadcast. I have new data, which you're seeing for the first time ever tonight on Afternoons LA. Let me show you our programming schedule. That new data and those new videos kick into high gear in 2 hours from now as Afternoons LA second show is at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we go into Evenings LA. That's that major 2 broadcasts, Afternoons LA and Evenings LA. 2 hours after this and then 2 hours after that. And then our irreverent, non-informational, humor-only broadcast, LA Late Night, is at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you on both of those 2 major shows coming up. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We're approaching our 1-year anniversary. Let's try to do 400,000 subscribers. April 25th, we turn 1 year old. Also, like this video. Let's try to do 3,000 likes. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you 2 hours from now with the big Afternoons LA right here.